Okay, so we have my old friend Daniel, who I went to Speaker's Corner with me a couple of times, twice I think, maybe three times, I can't remember. And he made some great videos. How many times did you go, Daniel? You're about 40. Are you still 14?
Yes.
Great, yeah. And when you did the first video, you were 13, and lots, people couldn't debate you. You're very good at explaining your points, so that was good. So you're somebody who does preach Islam, but I want to get straight into it. So obviously you're an Ahmadi Muslim. This little this live stream is what I call an emergency meeting. It was a bit like the Tate style. Do you know the emergency?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is. We should have a feeling of emergency when, if you look at the thumbnail of the video, it's a quote from what all the men, the boys, and even the older men, called the Ansar, the men over 40 in their convention, said in front of their leader, Khalifa, that they swear to God that they're going to do everything they can to spread the message of Islam. And this is no ordinary pledge. There's already a pledge that is done. Were you there at that pledge? That the Ishtar, the meeting of the kids, the young men, the boys, as it were, and the older. I'm trying to use words that everybody can understand. I probably shouldn't because it's only for Ahmadis, really. So, were you there for the Ijtima for the Atfal and Khudam?
Yes.
Okay, did you take that pledge? Do you remember taking that pledge at all?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yeah, it was a special one, isn't it? Hazur, the Khalifa, was doing a speech, and then halfway through, he said, "Everybody stand up and do this pledge." Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Cool. So I'm gonna. It's important for people who don't remember what they said, the big promises they made, and we should have a habit of being careful about what comes out of our mouths. I'm going to share. Let me cancel 1 second. Let me put that on that page. We should know what we said. So I'm going to share my screen. So I'll do that. Can you hear something howling in the background? No?
No, I don't think anything is.
We live in a village. There's some dogs howling for some reason. But anyway, so um, I'm going to go to YouTube, and so people should get the point of me going to YouTube is so people can find this video themselves and check for themselves, and not just to reference it, but they should listen to the whole speech themselves. Um, so, Khadam, Ishmad, probably let's see, is it final concluding session? So I've already got it at this particular um, point when everybody is standing up very seriously with one hand over the other, seemingly taking it seriously. And I'm going to talk about how I don't think people are really taking it seriously. Um, and I'm going to go to here, click. Nope. Or maybe. Oh no, this was the button. Sorry. Show transcript. Um, transcript again. I think you have to do it on a desktop. And I want to search for Control F, and the word is what am I going to search for? I swear to God. I swear by Allah. I'm not sure how this is big enough. Um, but I'll read anyway. I swear by Allah and proclaim, that means I announce, that I will always endeavor, do my best to spread and propagate, teach and spread. I'm just choosing easier words to convey and propagate the teachings of Islam Ahmadiyya and the blessed name of Holy Prophet. So you swear by God, right? And it
Yes.
keeps going. I shall ever keep my life devoted to the service of. I shall give every possible sacrifice. So I'm not just reading this because most people are very eager to say, you know what, I've got this problem, I've got that many things to do, right? A
Yeah.
sacrifice is when you give up something, right? But I'm not. This is not just a speech about you naughty boys, everybody out there. You lied to God, and you lied to the believer. No, that's a big deal by itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and people might say, "Oh no, we haven't lied. We just haven't fulfilled our, you know, promise yet. But we will one day. We're waiting, right?" So I talk about, is that the proper attitude? Is that really an honest attitude? Um, but I want to focus on this thing about sacrifice. Like, in reality, there are people who do the work and people who don't. Okay, the people who just kind of sit back one day waiting. Okay, and the people who sit back waiting, they've got a lot of excuses. Okay, and their kind of excuses are, I need to paint the wall again because my house doesn't look good enough. I need to fix the shelf. This is another a real emergency. Okay, but
Mm.
the emergency that the world is facing doesn't seem to be big enough. Like people go, Ahmadis say, "Oh no, World War III is on the way." But when you ask them to spread the message of Islam, to possibly halt World War III and all this kind of stuff, people go, "No, I've got to fix my shelf. That's a bigger emergency."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what their problems in their lives are, they consider bigger emergency.
Yeah.
And
Because
I'm gonna you go.
sometimes like I'm lucky because in my school there's like a praying space, and like sometimes I ask like one of my friends who are Muslim to come, like let's go pray there, but then they're always like, oh, I can pray at home, even though by the time you get home it's like the time for like Zuhr has already ended.
Exactly. So people are making excuses when they shouldn't be, right? And what I want to do, I want to make people's lives easier. I want people to succeed. I don't want to say, um, you're a terrible person. Uh, in fact, I would say there are lots of Ahmadis who are good, but there are different levels of goodness. Okay. And I'm trying to keep an order in what I'm saying. So let me just go to this thing here. Okay. So what is this? All my live streams are about making the world a better place. I call it making people happy, whatever. It's a general term. Muslims often think that making people happy is not part of Islam. That's probably because they haven't really understood Islam. Um, Very basic things are in Islam, that your soul should be at rest. This is the thing. That's the aim for, and that's a very happy kind of situation where you're free. Where it says in the Quran, it says, when you are pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with you. So of course, happiness is just a way of seeing if you're on the right path. Okay, and how can Islam make people happier? It solves real problems, like currently many Palestinians are dying, right? They don't need to die. And you'll know that if you find out that Ahmadi Muslims are not suffering as much as the rest of the Palestinians, who are also Palestinian, because they follow special advice in the Quran that saves them, okay, then this advice literally is saving people's lives. Okay, so there are Ahmadis that I know here. Many of them are Palestinian. I'm in Jordan now, which is next to Israel, where all this fighting is happening. Um, so there are solutions, there are real solutions, but most of us won't care about the solutions. There are a lot of people who are sending WhatsApp videos. Oh, look, it's so sad that Palestinians are dying, but they don't want to come on a live stream like this or tell their friends about the message of Islam and Ahmadiyya, the true Islam, to save their people, those lives. Okay, so again, I'm trying to avoid just criticism, but we have to get some sort of reality. Okay,
Yeah.
and so I want to go through. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. If people know the real reason for preaching Islam, then they will be successful. And the people who don't preach Islam or don't are not doing it regularly, they're not doing something every day. Now, you don't have to literally be preaching every day, but you could be producing sort of material every day. I'm always doing something every day. I'm always WhatsApping people, making comments, preparing material for these live streams, contacting people like you. Can you be on the live stream? There's a lot of things that happen in the background, right? Okay, so there's something you can do every day. I want you people to get into that mindset. And this is not just my ideas, this is this Islamic idea of being regular and doing small things to be successful. But people don't do that. They don't do what they're supposed to be doing because they have the wrong attitude. And I'm trying to get to the point really quickly. The wrong attitude is that they just want to win an argument. They think preaching is about winning. It's like some sort of game. Okay? And the people who do that, deep down, you know that's a stupid thing to do, just to try to win an argument. Go on, what are you going to say?
I was just gonna say that I saw on like other people's videos, like, got destroyed in an argument or something.
Yeah. So that's I disagree. Even some Ahmadis do, some famous Ahmadis, and I don't really like those kind of titles. Sometimes I have a bit of fun at that. I've only done one title, I think, like that, where it wasn't called Destroyed. I think I said, because it was a school teacher, I said school teacher gets schooled or something like that. I just thought it was funny. But generally, I agree. You shouldn't have like aggressive titles like that in your YouTube videos. It's not about you winning, it's about trying to help people understand. Okay, as I say, there's a simple, if you come from a place of kindness, then you'll be successful in preaching the message of Islam and Ahmadiyya. If you don't, then what will happen is that you'll get excited, but deep down, you know the reason you're doing it is not very good, and then you won't be motivated to do it. Like if you're doing it just to show off, to be clever, right? You know deep down that's not a good reason to do things, and then you'll think, you won't be honest with yourself about why you're not doing Tabligh on that particular day. But you'd be like, I've got homework to do, which is actually in your brain a more sensible thing to do, because the reason you're doing Tabligh, you're spreading the message of Islam, is the wrong reason. So it doesn't compete. Go on, what were you going to say?
I just forgot. Never mind.
Okay, cool. So come from a place of kindness.
I just remembered.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you do like something like you were just describing, like, would it be like sinful?
Absolutely, yeah, because Allah is the greatest, not you. That's why we say Allahu Akbar so many times. Yes.
So you can't bring it on. You can't bring it up on the Day of Judgment if He says like, "What do you do with your knowledge?"
Exactly, because even if you do something that looks good on the surface, but for the wrong reasons, Allah knows it. So Allah, when you go to Allah and say, "I did so much preaching," and Allah knows that you did it just to show off and look clever, that's gonna be a negative result.
Yeah.
So don't do it for the wrong reason. So where's this idea of kindness coming from, right? So a lot of people don't reflect on the Quran. There's a verse of the Quran that you probably know, Al-Asr wal-Asr in al-Insan. Do you know that one?
Yes.
Okay. So at the end, people don't think about what this last verse means. So basically, the beginning of the verse says there's a time when people will feel lost. They'll be at loss, except for the people who do these following things. First of all, they believe, and then they do good deeds. And you might say, "Oh, there's no order here. Everything in the Quran, because it's perfect, is in order, and there's a reason, there's a connection, but people don't realize that." So I'm going to quickly show you a connection, and a very important connection relating to being good at preaching. So there's a basic stage, believing. You just have to actually understand the idea, Islam. But just understanding and not doing anything is not much value. So that's the second stage, being a good person, backing up your beliefs. Then the next level is accepting and preaching the truth. So accepting the truth and preaching the truth. Okay, why is that the next level? Anybody with anybody experience, you know that preaching the truth is much harder than just sitting back and, most Ahmadi Muslims, They will do all the other stuff, but like, how many people went to Speaker's Corner like you? Next to nobody. Who are Ahmadi Muslims, yeah? Even the missionaries or the Murabbis, the trained people who went and did a course for 7 years, they were too scared to come to Speaker's Corner, right?
Yeah.
So the point is that, and then there's another stage I'm not going to bother to talk about because it's not the point, because we're only talking about this thing. My point is, this verse is telling you the foundations of being successful in. Hey, it's my brother, yay! Okay, so this is my younger brother, Hamid Safir. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Fantastic. You look like you're in a car. Cool. Okay,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
we're going to carry on.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm glad you're here.
I'll just make my video off because
Shh. That's fine. That's fine.
I won't
Cool.
be able to position it properly.
That's fine. No problem. No problem. Appreciate it. Okay. So just so you know, Daniel also can't put his camera on because he tried to put the reverse camera on, but it wasn't working on his phone. So that's the reason his camera's not on either. So anyway, so what we're talking about is if you really want to be successful as a preacher, you need some basics. First of all, you need to really believe in it. Then you actually need to be a good person. Okay, so I don't just, for example, I'm not going to talk about how good I am. Obviously, this is ridiculous
Yeah.
to do on the stream, right? But the point is, there's loads of things I do for free for loads of other people, right? I won't even like even in the local where we lived. There'll be some people who tell you that I was the only person who did this, whatever for
You were
certain
getting
people,
what?
right? I was the only person who would be helping certain people in the community in certain ways, right?
Yes.
So people would say that to me, right? So the point is that you have to have that basic goodness in you to get to the higher level, which is spreading the truth. Okay, spreading the truth is only people. The only people who would do that is who are really convinced of the truth of what they believe in. Okay, and
Yeah.
they practice it already. Okay, and also spreading the truth is an act of kindness because there's a big mistake that people think it's just words that we're sharing. Okay, every good action comes from ideas, every problem is solved from ideas. So, for example, the Palestinians are dying right now. Okay,
Yeah.
the Quran gives a solution which most people will hate. Okay, it says, and it refers to a prophecy, and I'm going to make a separate program on this. I'm going to make like 2 programs on this to help people understand. Okay, even though it's very simple, but 2 different groups of people, to Westerners and other Muslims. Okay, 2 separate live streams to explain this idea from the Quran. It says the righteous, the good people will inherit the earth. This is the Quran quoting from a prophecy in the Bible as well. So both books are agreeing on this prophecy that if you're a good person, you will have Palestine. It was actually talking, this prophecy was talking about Palestine. So a very simple solution, and there are a couple of verses, leave Palestine, don't die for your buildings, your houses, they're not worth it. Okay, you will get the land back, Allah will give it back to you, and I'll give logical reasons why that will work, because already Israel is ready to collapse. Okay,
Yeah.
because they've got some massive LGBT problem and all sorts of things like that, right? So they're already collapsed. Just leave them to it. And I can give lots of reasons for that. So my point is that Ahmadi Muslims, because they are aware of this truth, they have come to Jordan where they're living really well, much better than people are living in London, living in huge houses. This house I'm living in is like 10 times a normal London house, right?
Oh.
Definitely 10 times, 20 times the house I used to live in terms of size in London. So the point is, and Palestinians have become very, very rich. Like the current queen to be of Jordan, so she's the current princess, but she's next in line to be queen. She's a Palestinian. She left. She went to Kuwait. Their family became extremely rich. Now they're coming back to Jordan. I'm just giving many, many examples. Extreme people who have done extremely well, and the Quran says they would do extremely well if they leave for the sake of God. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so there are many things. So these are when I'm talking about preaching, these are ideas that change the world. Everything comes from ideas. Do not think they're just words. In fact, if you don't share your reasons for doing something, let's say you go to a poor country and you don't talk to them, you don't educate them. All you do is you give them. There's a famous example of giving people mosquito nets, right? And if you just give mosquito nets and you don't educate them on how to make the mosquito nets themselves, they become useless and they become dependent on you. Okay? So, talking, educating, this is very important. Do not think that it is like an extra thing, it doesn't have any effect. It has the biggest effect of anything you can do for humanity. You can tell me if you can disagree with me, maybe it's a hard idea to understand. Can you understand that teaching an idea? So I forgot that Hamid is here as well. Maybe I'll ask Hamid. You feel free to disagree with me, Hamid. We as Ahmadi Muslims do lots of things. We go to build water wells in different places. But I'm saying more powerful than that. It doesn't mean instead of that. I said more powerful than that is to preach the truth, to help people help themselves with Islamic ideas. What do you think, Hamid?
So yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. I mean, what's better than preaching the truth?
Cool, great. So, and Daniel, I mean, does it seem a bit of a weird idea just to use words to help people? Maybe building them a well or giving them loads of money would giving people loads of money save them, make their lives better than words? What do you
It
think?
depends. It depends who you give it to, because if you give it to like people who just like unfortunate, like they were just unfortunate to have like low money, but they know how to use it, like because of their living situation, then it would be like the right thing to do, especially if you know them. But if you know like the person is probably gonna like waste it on useless things, like to brag or like waste
Yeah,
it,
and so
then
famously, if you look at the lottery winners, they become really miserable, more miserable than before because they waste all their money because they didn't learn how to use the money. They didn't really earn the money. Do you know what I mean? They just
yeah,
won it and they lost all their friends because of it. Because all their friends wanted their money and they said, you know what, I don't want any friends. And when they finished using up all their money on ridiculous things, they lost all their money as well as lost all their friends.
yeah.
So you have to be very careful. You need wisdom to live life well. Okay, so I'm trying to pick out the big problems people have. So the big problems are people are doing preaching for the wrong reasons, or basically they think the reason for preaching is to be clever or be right and beat other people. But that's deep down the reason why they're not really motivated to be a full-time preacher like the Khalifa Hazur is asking you to do. Okay. Now people might say, you know what? You don't have to do something every day. Okay. That's again a big misunderstanding of how you're supposed to behave as a Muslim, right? So there's a saying Prophet Muhammad says, "Take up good deeds only as much as you're able, for the best deeds are done regularly, even if there are few." Basically, all successful people will tell you that it's not about doing things once in a blue moon, once every now and then. So one of the reasons why I'm picking up on this is because I am communicate directly with the person in charge of Tabligh in the UK, right? And I'm saying this is what I think, right? And I've been around longer than he has in this country, and I've seen how the country was a lot more successful in Tabligh. And I'm trying to point out what I think is right. It could be wrong, but I'm quoting what Prophet Muhammad is saying, right? And he's saying, do things regularly, even if they're small. Um, and what we're doing recently, my brother explained. I invite people to disagree with me, right? Okay, is that we do big flashy things. Now, big flashy things might sound like they're good. So let me not be general. Let me be specific. My brother, I was talking to him yesterday, day before yesterday, can't remember, and he was saying, yes, things are happening in response to this pledge that we all made. about to do more preaching, and we were sent to different villages around, I don't know, UK, probably not that far from London, but far enough to these far off places. Right?
Uh,
Do you know anything about this? Did your dad go? Your dad's very involved in Jamaat things. Was he sent to any village or something to preach? Daniel?
not really, but I remember that he, not a long time ago. I don't know when, but he
Oh
used
no,
to.
this was like this last week or something. Hamid, when was this? Was it last
I
weekend?
know.
Hamid? When does this thing you were telling me happen? When did people go to villages?
Oh, so yeah, we went
No,
on the week.
On the
It was the
weekend,
weekend.
Hamid?
Yeah,
Last
weekend.
weekend, yeah?
no.
Oh no, I'm talking to my brother Hamid at the moment, Daniel.
Sorry.
Yeah. So when I say Hamid, then I'll say Daniel when I'm talking to you. I know because you can't see each other, so it's a bit confusing. But anyway, so Hamid, it happened last weekend. So here's the problem, right? I'm not trying to be difficult, but as somebody as a teacher, I know, and anybody who's been in school, if they think about how things are developed, it developed over time and has to be done consistently, and nobody learns lots of stuff in one go. Okay, school is a tiny bit by bit. This is part of being an advanced society, and Islam is about creating advanced societies. And Allah doesn't guide you with these teachings, okay, for the sake of it. He knows this is the best way for you human beings to develop in small bits by small bits. So, like when you go, Daniel, for example, to a maths class, you learn one tiny thing. It's not like you don't jump out of every class and go, I had the most amazing math lesson. It's one tiny, ordinary lesson after the other, and then it all builds up for you to being able to do something amazing with that math, like pass a GCSE maths exam, right? Okay. And it seems boring, but this is how human beings develop. Now, yeah, thanks. So what my brother Hamid was saying, yes, something great is happening. We went off to some far off village, whatever. Guess what? You're not going to keep doing that every weekend. Okay, you need to set the foundations of something that you can keep going. Because I don't want to just do a live stream to waste my breath. I want you guys, everybody, to be successful. I want the UK community Jamaat to be successful. And in reality, you have to build foundations, and the foundations are consistency. And you have to build something called habits and not work on willpower. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit of detail. But Hamid, feel free to disagree with me. I do not think it was a good start to go to far off villages. That is a bonus once you've developed the foundation skills of consistency. What do you think about it, Hamid?
I don't really see what's wrong with it. I think it's a positive thing, and this is a good thing to do. I don't think it's anything.
So I'm going to say, like I said to you yesterday, that this is an anti-training. Okay, what do I mean by anti-training? It's the opposite of developing the skill of consistency. So you want sound. I'm going to make it sound boring, but this is actually where all the fun in life happens. Okay, when you do seemingly boring little things every day. So every day when I get up, I'm writing a book about the Holy Prophet for kids, like a kid's version, right? And I just write one or two sentences for it. I basically I'm based on another book, right? And I keep doing it every day, right? Okay, that's how you develop. Okay, because the way human beings, like, let's say you're learning maths, if you learn equations one day and you don't do it for a week, you've forgotten what you did the previous week. You have to keep building up every single day. Now, the opposite of that is to do something like go to school once or twice a year. And you said, I did some amazing experiments, but actually you don't benefit so much from it. And what this trip you did, Hamid, to a village is you got the feeling that you did something. Okay, let me try to explain it. I'm not sure how well I'm explaining. You feel like you did something great, but you didn't develop the most important thing, which is this, which is being consistent. You didn't develop the thing that will make
Uh,
you successful
I'm
in
just
Tabligh.
gonna
Go on. Yes, Daniel. Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep my microphone off, but I'll still be here.
Sure. So, Hamid, do you understand? I want to break this down because a lot of people have this same sort of feeling. It's a feeling. We have to be careful of just feelings, right? There's a feeling that I did something that's good, but not everything that you do is necessarily good, even though it looks good on the surface. If the core skill is to be consistent and you're doing something that is going by nature, by its very nature, is going to be inconsistent, going to a village, you're not going to keep going to a village, right? And then you think you put that as a sign of success. You've taught yourself the wrong idea of success. I'm trying to teach the idea of success means doing really small things. This is even Jordan Peterson talks about, even though I don't really necessarily like him because he's, a bit of a anti-Islam kind of guy, but he says a lot of things, right? And he says always set your bar really low so you can manage your goals. Do you understand a little bit about what I'm saying? Try to bear in mind what I'm showing on the screen, which is this hadith about being consistent, even if it's a
Assalamu
small.
alaikum. Hi.
Yes,
Assalamu alaikum.
yes, Hamid. Yes,
Yeah, no,
go for it.
I think maybe I think you might be overthinking it a little bit. I mean, it's not that we don't. I never said that there was some kind of huge achievement or a second definition of success or anything like that. We've made an effort, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I fully agree with you that we're supposed to be doing regular activities, and we are expected to do regular activities, and we should be. I don't myself do as much as I should be doing, but we're constantly reminded that we should be doing regular Tabligh activities. It's not like anybody is saying that if you've been out for one weekend, then you've been successful. Nobody said that.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay, so it's good because some people will have that impression. So that they've done something. There's going to be all categories of people who understand Islam in different ways, right? So they feel like, yes, I've done my bit. That's it. That's great success. Okay. So now the next thing is about I've lived in the UK my whole life. I've been very in touch with what is happening at the grassroots for a very long time. Um, and I know that it's not consistent. And even when people do it a little bit consistently, they do it incredibly badly. For example, they don't know how to communicate the benefits of Islam at all. All they can do is say, here's this leaflet, and it's like giving the wrong medicine to everybody because a leaflet is a specific medicine for people's specific needs. Not one leaflet is the answer to everything. And um, I don't want to break down the issues I have with the existing leaflets, but you should be able to explain things. And people I've talked to, my own contacts, like my people I do preaching to, when they come to one of our events, they find it really weird that people are unable to communicate, even just normal conversations. So this is something we definitely need to overcome. And so there needs to be local training. So let me try to stick to some clear points. So we need to be consistent. I don't think that's happening at all. Even if some people claim that's happening, they're doing so incredibly badly that it's not really preaching, just giving out leaflets to people and not being able to explain Islam. I think that's an issue. Do you want to give any response? I mean, I can explain that more why that's an issue, but
It's
Hamid, I'd like
definitely,
to.
it's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely true that people should be increase their knowledge, and they should be trained to be confidently, speak to people. That's definitely true, and as we need to improve that. We need to have more classes and more training, and we have more khudam and more people who are confident to speak about lots of topics. Definitely true. We had some good conversations as well on the weekend, but obviously I definitely agree that there's lots of improvement, room for improvement. It's true. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk practically, because you're a regional leader and I want some sort of results to be really good. Yeah, not for me personally. I don't need to do this. I'm not even in the country anymore, right? But I still want to help, right? Okay, so what needs to happen are seemingly boring things that can't easily be reported. The painful things, but you know it's the right thing to do. Okay, and how do we know what is the right thing to do? We have a system where there's supposed to be regional levels and a local level, and we've got a handbook, and everybody knows what they should be doing. Okay, and there are some very basic and obvious things that people should be doing. They're called, there need to be training, like you just said, there need to be training. People can't just do things. Okay, and that needs to happen at the local level. And you might get phone calls, you should do this, and then, but the reality is it doesn't really happen. And the fact is that it's not given importance enough. Now, I'm not going to bother with blaming. I do blame the system. Let's say not the system, the people in charge, because they focused on the quick results, which is get a few people at the top who are already motivated, and then get them to do, uh, let's say, some work, and leave the people at the bottom, just a few conversations and a few messages. But if you really wanted something to happen, it would happen. It used to happen in the past all the time. We used to have people at the grassroots, loads of people preaching at the grassroots. Um, Anything that needs to happen always gets done. Anything that's consistently given importance, it gets done. And let me just quickly explain for people who might be confused, why isn't it good enough for just a few people at the top? Let's say people who are most motivated, and let's say when I say the top, there's kind of a national level, regional level, grassroots level, let's say, local level. The problem is, the reality is, when you get converts, and this is, you've seen this, I've seen this, okay, and the people who are not preaching, they basically don't know Islam. You can almost pretty much argue that quite clearly. If you're not willing to preach Islam, that means you don't know it well enough to. You basically don't know well enough. Like, if you knew it well enough, you would be out there explaining it, right? That's kind of the obvious connection. And when you don't have that, those same people scare away all the converts because they behave in really shocking ways. Like, for example, they speak in Urdu when they know the convert doesn't speak in Urdu, and they don't care. Okay, the standards are extremely low. Even though they're nice people, they give you lifts and they talk to you nicely and whatever. These are Ahmadi Muslims, basically are nicer than the average other Muslims, right? But the standard is going to be too low. It's very important that everybody does start preaching, because it raises their standards, and then you scare away less converts, and you have a more fruitful process. Get converts without losing them, and those new converts will stay converts, and they'll get more people to convert, because those converts, people who are converts, they're already on the edges. And if they say your friend becomes a Muslim, then you're more likely to become Muslim because you know that person. It's the easiest way to get more converts. So you have a much better results. You want to retain people. You don't want to scare them away. Does that make any sense, Hamid? There are many reasons why everybody should be preaching, but that's one of the very practical reasons. What do you think, Hamid?
Can you just repeat what you said for the last part?
Oh, Dania, I'm saying that everybody should be preaching, because you might not know this, but actually you probably know this a little bit, but you won't notice it so much until you have somebody like me and Hamid. We've had people convert to Islam through us, right?
Yes.
So when you bring people to the community, the Jamaat, they'll run away very quickly. And the reason they run away is because the people who are not preaching, they might think they're really good. They're going to the mosque and all this other kind of stuff. But if you're not preaching, that shows, and you're not able to explain Islam, that means you don't really understand. Like when I'm teaching maths and the student says, I get it, but I can't explain it, I know they don't get it because they can't explain it. Even Einstein said something like that. If you can't explain it to a child, that means you don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, I think my brother's connection is gone, or maybe he has to go. I don't know, right? But the point is that if you're not preaching, then you've got a lot of improvement to do as a Muslim. Like you don't care about Islam, you don't know the amazing value of Islam, the life-saving value of Islam enough to tell people about it. And it's not, by the way, just helping people in Palestine, it's helping all the people who are suffering in the UK. And most people, most Ahmadi Muslims don't even know the people in the UK are suffering. Do you know that people are suffering hugely in the UK?
Yeah, people who like
Tell
think
me,
like living crisis, like affecting them a lot, and like before
well,
that,
which
to like
crisis?
20
Which crisis?
million
No, in the
pardon?
UK, which crisis are you talking about? Because you could be
cost
right,
of
I don't
living,
know.
cost of living,
Cost of
and
living,
like
right?
strikes.
Okay,
That's
but
like
that's not.
affecting.
Yeah, but these are just actually things on the surface. Do you know the number one way young men die?
Suicide? Not
Suicide.
really. Yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
the answer. Suicide is the answer, right? Okay. So what people you might not see is you see what on the surface of society. But if you dig a little bit by making friends with people, you'll see how many problems people have. If you talk to your friends and find out, especially the non-Muslims, they have more problems. Okay, because then you will see that when you don't follow Islam, there's so many things that go wrong. Parents get divorced and so many other things because they don't understand how human beings really work. And Allah knows how people work. And all the scientific evidence, the psychology and everything, is proving that Islam understands how people work. For example, that man has to be the boss of the house. People think, oh no, that's really bad. Who should be? But you should always have a boss of the house. Just like in your school, you have a boss of the school, right? If you have nobody as a boss of the school, then it'll be a disaster, right?
yes.
Yeah, it doesn't mean the man has to be evil or something. That's the wrong understanding. Yeah, people have a really messed up understanding in the West, right? So there's so many things that Islam teaches, and if you don't follow Islam, it all goes wrong. And that's why you find, even if the Muslims are not great Muslims, they benefit.
So,
Their lives are much better than the people who are not Muslim, for example.
so with
Generally speaking.
preaching, like I don't know if this counts, but it's showing like good like behavior or like morals as like a Muslim, like
Yeah,
because sometimes like people are like,
is
oh,
that a form of preaching? Is that
like
what you're asking? Yeah, is that a way
yeah,
of preaching? Just your good behavior? Yeah.
yeah, because they're
Yeah,
always
so
like
that is, but it's not the only way because people can't. If you do lots of good things, but you're not like an amazing saint, yeah, okay,
yes,
then people might not ever know what you believe, right? That you're even a Muslim, right? So
yeah,
this is the wrong idea. So somebody said to me this same thing. They even quoted Hazur saying that you can there there are ways that your behavior can be more powerful than just preaching, but that's not what the example. But that's a quote out of context, okay? Because if you look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was definitely preaching, even though his personality was much better than ours. He didn't just depend on that. Do you know what I'm saying?
yes,
Yeah, so it's very important to preach because there are so many ideas that cannot be understood just through your example. For example, the danger of interest-based banking, right? Who knows who you bank with through your example? Nobody knows all your details, do they? They might know you're a nice guy and you don't bully people. Yeah, that's not going to tell you all the other things that are very important, how to save the environment, all these very complicated things. You need to actually talk. Okay, and then some people say we're not brave enough and things like that. Okay, you
yeah,
become brave enough by trying and being an honest person. If you're selfish, you'll never be brave enough. You always have the excuse, I'm not brave enough, because you just can't be bothered. Okay, I'm not a particularly brave person, but even lots of famous people become brave, they look brave just because they know why they're doing something. When they know why they're doing something, there's a famous psychologist called Nietzsche. He said, if you have a why, you can get through anyhow. That means if you have the stronger reason you have to do something, the more powerful or more capable you become of doing something. That's what I was saying in the beginning. That if you're preaching or telling people about Islam to look clever, okay, then you're going to be less motivated. You're going to be less successful. There are some people who've got very bad reasons. They just want to be clever, they want to be famous, and they actually want to make money out of Islam, like people at Speakers Corner often do. Okay, they get money through YouTube advertising, but they're going to struggle in lots of other ways. They might even be suffering from depression because they very likely will be suffering from depression. When you do things from the wrong way, Allah is always punishing you in this life, so that you experience the hell that you're feeling that you're going to get in the next life. It's like Allah warns you. Allah gives you a chance by saying, look, you're doing something wrong. So always try to do things with the right reason, then you'll feel good and you'll be more motivated. So that's one idea. But I want to talk about, in the last few minutes, I'm going to talk about this thing. I'm trying to just share some ideas that will really help people be successful. One of the most difficult things is for Ahmadis, they say, oh, I'm just not motivated today, right? Maybe I'll be motivated tomorrow. That's called depending on willpower. Successful people don't depend on willpower. They depend on building habits. What that means is, even without thinking, they know in the morning, number one thing I have to do is I've got, write something about, like the preaching thing, or read something. Yeah. 5 minutes of videos, read something, learn something. Do you know what I mean? And you make a program where you do it automatically because you've got priorities. Yeah. So as soon as you've done your homework, you don't have to do much, but you have to do a little bit every day, just 5 minutes or something. Right? And if you keep doing 5 minutes, you know what will happen? It'll become 10 minutes, become 15 minutes. When I first went to Speaker's Corner, I was there for 1 hour. Then I went 2 hours, 3 hours, and I was doing more and more videos. It keeps building up. Allah rewards you and helps you when you start on the right track. Does that make any sense? If you do a little bit, Allah helps you a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah? Tell me, okay, I'm going to try to put you on the spot because I don't like doing these conversations where everybody is agreeable and happy and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you started a thing where you were going to start a YouTube channel and make lots of YouTube shorts. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was a plan. Now,
Not
did
too
you
much.
work exactly? Now, my point is that you had a plan to do it, but you didn't follow it through. You did a little bit, but you didn't follow through with it. And there's a reason. See, I could say naughty boy, but that doesn't solve anything because deep down, you have to fix the root of the problem. The root of the problem is the why you're doing it. Okay? Now, what was the reason in your mind? Try not to filter it too much. Really feel, what was the reason you wanted to make the YouTube shorts? What would happen if people watched it? What would happen?
People would learn off it, and I also heard that it was like sadaqah, and I could get good deeds for it.
Okay, cool. So you got some sort of surface thing, but you didn't. Did you really think that? Okay, somebody's life would be changed and they'll become better human beings.
Not life changed, but they could learn something from what
Right. So you want to get to the level when you know for sure that people's lives will really change if they can understand what you're saying. Now, the videos that you made were basically cuts from my videos, right? And I thought, okay, that's fine. That's good. That's a way to start. Okay. But the problem is those videos weren't really my best videos. I mean, when I mean my best, they were videos about stuff that kind of doesn't change anybody's lives.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, Jesus died, now what? Right? They were too focused on, there were definitely things that would get lots of views because Muslims like to argue and they love to be right, okay? And if it's anything about Islam on a YouTube video, it becomes more popular, especially if Muslims are arguing about something, those videos become more popular, okay? Because Muslims are very committed people compared to everybody else. That's why most of the Speaker's Corner are Muslims. It's not an accident, right? If you make a video about Muslims, that's going to be more popular than atheists. Atheists are just depressed anyway, so there's not much going on there. So don't make videos that will just become popular. You might think you should do that, right? You may say, oh, I need to get to lots of people. You know, you can make really stupid videos that are popular. You know that, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So being popular is not the most important thing. Being right and doing the right thing for the right reasons will make you more successful over time in the most meaningful sense. Bunch of views doesn't mean success. What is a good example of success is one person really changes their life.
Yeah,
You know
so
what I mean?
if someone, yeah, because like I put on there like what you shouldn't do, like 3 sins like people might not know, like backbiting, because I didn't know that, like I didn't know that like a few months ago, but I knew it now and no one really told me, so I thought it might be useful for like people to know.
Okay, that's good. Again, I would still call that the surface level. What's wrong with backbiting? Go on, tell me. This is a
Because
bit of practice.
I heard it was like a very bad sin, because when
Okay,
you
you
like,
heard. No, my point is, if you say I heard, okay,
because I
what's wrong
heard
with
like,
murdering? What's with murdering? Would you ever say I heard murdering is
not
a bad
really like
sin?
from people, but like I saw like it was like a major sin, and like
Okay,
if you
cool.
backbite
Let's
about
say you're
someone,
convincing me, right? The
yes,
last thing you want to say is I heard. Okay? Because that
yeah,
sounds like somebody told me it's a bad thing, but it's not very convincing. Now, if somebody says, I heard murdering is a bad sin, people will laugh at you because they know murdering is a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
So when you talk about, say, backbiting, you have to, first of all, you have to know it really well. You have to research what is all the damage that's caused by backbiting. And then when you talk about it, it'll be so convincing that people will know that it is bad. Oops, everybody is dropping out. Anyway, guys, we've got 4 minutes. If people come in, that's good. If they can't, I think there's some weird thing that happens with StreamYard. Maybe it's not that weird. Maybe it's just not that strong internet connections and people get dropped out. But anyway, I'm really trying to make this 1 hour. This is okay. Let me just get back to the beginning. What is this all about? Nobody should say, I swear to God, that they're going to do something and then they're going to make their biggest effort to do that thing, which is preaching Islam, and not do it. And I talked to different people. I tried to find out what people really think. Okay, one response is, we're waiting for somebody in the leadership in the community, the Muslim community, and say, hey man, this is the program, and they're waiting for that. And what if that doesn't happen? Because it hasn't happened for a very long time, decades, right? So you're depending on people who have done something for decades, and you're depending on them to help you fulfill your promise to God. And you say, I swear to God. No reasonable person should do that. So are you an atheist? What are you? Think about what you're doing, because you might be behaving like an atheist who is not too bothered about what comes out of their mouth, especially when it says, I swear to God. So what should you be doing? Don't wait for anybody. You've already been told by God you should be preaching the message of Islam. So do it in a really small way. Contact anybody who can help you. Contact me. I'll help you. Right? Okay? Get onto a live stream. Get into people. If you don't know how to start a conversation about Islam with people, you don't know what to talk about. You think your friends don't care. Everybody cares because they're human beings. They all need Islam. But what your problem is, you think Islam is talk about the Bible. In the UK, Christianity is the fastest dying religion. So if you're going to talk about the Bible, that's a really rubbish way because everybody's running away from Christianity anyway, right? Cool, no problem, bro. Which is Daniel. Appreciate it, no problem. So, but thanks for putting that message through. The point is, one of my other brothers trying to call me. But anyway, so I just wind up. Please start doing things today. I've had I've been able to preach in so many ways, and the simple. I'm trying to keep it super simple. If you just take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. If you do one thing right today, don't wait till tomorrow. As I say, tomorrow never comes. Okay, there's always an excuse. Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. Okay, and plan to be boringly consistent. Don't do exciting, do boring. Those are the really successful people. The successful people say, I'm going to do one more boring little step, because actually deep down they know it's towards something absolutely amazing. If you want to build a bridge, it's one brick at a time. Okay, but if you just focus there, oh, this brick is boring, and you don't have the vision of where it's going, then it's going to be boring. But if you know where it's going, and even that tiny brick, one brick at a time, makes people's lives a little bit better. Whoops, active stage. Okay, cool. So I'm just finishing off, Daniel. Daniel, I want you to be an example to all the people, and that might sound really strange, but listen, to be an example to everybody in the UK. That's actually very easy, because most people are doing nothing. They're doing the wrong thing. And the reason they're doing the wrong thing, because most people have got the wrong attitude. Okay? How many people are still giving just leaflets? That's the wrong attitude. They think that's acceptable. It's not acceptable. Okay? If you're in the country for so many years and you're still doing that and you make no effort to change, that's not acceptable to any human being, right? Imagine you're in a school and you can never, do a math lesson. All you can tell is other people. Let's say you're in a school and you can never do equations, and you're giving leaflets about doing equations. That's crazy, right? They'll think you're crazy. You're a hypocrite. You don't even understand it yourself, and you're telling other people to understand it. Okay, there's so many things wrong with that. So there are so many. Islam is a very simple religion to learn. Start with small things. Be consistent. I'm not going to take any more of your time, but appreciate your time. It's very good catching up with you, Daniel. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum. Appreciate it. Assalamualaikum.
You too. Walaikum salam.
Assalamualaikum.